Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Vampire the Masquerade 5th Edition Ancestral Blood. This is a one-off session between myself, the Storyteller, and our Tremere, Silas Lysander Jr., to get a little bit of a night in the life of Silas as more of a one-on-one thing, to see what he's been up to and especially what things have been going on with the Tremere of Chicago. So hope you enjoy this little one-off, get a little glimpse of the character and get to see a little bit more that we wouldn't see perhaps with the full coterie and learn some new things. So without further ado, Silas, Chris,
Yes,
are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. Let's do this.
Okay. All right. In Chicago's South Side, near the shore of Lake Michigan, lives Hyde Park, home to the world-famous Museum of Science and Industry, the University of Chicago. And there's also another well-known location among the kindred of the night, Chicago's Tremere Chantry. The Chantry in Chicago is a location that's not quite secret from the Camarilla or even the Anarchs of Chicago. Everybody knows where it is, though it's not an open to the public kind of location, though there have been events hosted at the Chantry, invited other clans that aren't just Tremere. It's a sprawling mansion that was actually recently renovated, and it appears much larger than it appears from the outside. So it's definitely a bigger on the inside kind of building, which is something to be expected of the Tremere. There's always lots of things going on within the Tremere Chantry of Chicago. And Silas, you have been here quite often. You do spend many of your nights here. If you're not with your family, and you haven't been with your family too much, as opposed to this last couple of nights where you spent time at Elysium with your family. Mm-hmm. And other than that, you've not really seen them much, but you do spend your time here. So you've become well acquainted with some of the regulars, but not all of them. You definitely see the Tremere Regent Deucible quite often, and you've developed a bit of a rapport with him. But you also have met some of the other Tremere, one in particular by the name of Sun Chi. And tonight you run into her. And she is she's given you in the past, she's also like an apprentice level, like yourself. So you guys are both kind of beginners in the Chantry, and she's given you the tour of everything. You've seen some of the libraries of various grimoires and books. You've seen some of the other areas of study. You've seen some of the labs. And this tonight takes you to some other places that you haven't been. She asks you about your first time at Elysium, how the experience was, and you two kind of go back and forth. She takes you to one room of particular, that of note, and she asks you, do you like gardens, Silas?
Gardens?
Yes.
I do, actually. One of the first things you learn in biology/medical school is actually plant biology, the most simple ancient biologies before mammals or animals even existed.
It truly is so connected to the things that we do, the biology of plants, how we can use even plant life for our own means. Something we've been working on recently and studying is how we can grow plants addicted to blood. It's
interesting.
Yes. It has its uses, but it does require special needs and special care to tend to such a garden of viscera.
It's fascinating. So there's no need for photosynthesis, just simply survives on viscera, you said.
Yes, blood specifically. Rather than water, we grow it with blood.
That's quite the accomplishment.
Yes. And sometimes you can use these to get rid of things that you might not need anymore. Like, say something happens and you need to perhaps store a corpse somewhere.
If you have an oopsie daisy, as a
That's
family
cute.
member calls it, yes.
Very cute. Well, feel free to spend some time in these gardens if you find the time. Perhaps there are things that you can learn about this plant life and things you can experiment and study on that maybe some of us haven't seen.
And is this open to every member of the Chantry?
To some, not all, as it's kind of something new that we're working on.
Well, I'm honored to be included in something new.
Of course. And she shows you this little greenhouse-looking room. Of course, there is no light that emits in the room, but there is some artificial light and various tools at your disposal to mess with this as you please. But she continues to walk you through the Chantry and heading into one of the basements. And as you know, the Chantry house does have like lower sub-basements, and you haven't explored all of them. You've kind of explored the first level. And she brings you to your lab. This is a room that you've seen before. It is a sterile kind of science lab with various tools, centrifuges, blood vials, things that you've worked with before.
Sure.
She explains to you, well, I suppose I will leave you to work if you need to, but I should say there is another individual in our clan that has a similar background to you that I'd like you to meet.
Okay.
She's also of a medical background, and perhaps the two of you can work here together and maybe learn some new things about the blood that we have not been able to learn about.
I'd be happy to meet them and see what I can do.
I'll go ahead and grab her. And Sunche leaves, and you are left to your lab. And I'm gonna say, Silas, you've kind of spent your time in here, and you've made it your own in some ways, but you do know it's not. It's more borrowed than it is something that's actually yours. But is there anything Silas would do to personalize his space, or like add anything to an area where he would be studying, like basically have like a hematology lab where he would be studying blood? What kind of things would he kind of do to make it more his own?
Yeah, so Silas would probably get a small mini grand piano, not a grand, but a smaller one that he would sit at and, when he's alone, play a few chords, a couple keys on it, try to get his mind activated, maybe away from the problem, give him time to think. He has played piano in the past as a child and a teenager, so that is a little bit of a comfort zone for him. But generally, he would kind of, until something is absolutely his, he probably wouldn't bring in any personal effects or anything like that. He knows how shared working spaces can be, and generally how people snoop or how people break things.
Mm-hmm. And you You do kind of have, yeah, that space that's yours. Your little keyboard piano is there, and it does kind of add just a little bit of home to this lab, and it even sometimes reminds you of your own childhood and growing up. That was your talent as a child. That was
Yeah.
the thing that you excelled at. Each one of your siblings had their own special talent, and that was yours. And
Yep. Father made sure to put us in something, whatever it was, to keep us busy.
and sitting at one of these tables, kind of spending the time to yourself and in your own, taking a few moments to yourself, in walks a young girl. She appears in her 20s, and she has short red hair. She, you've not seen her before in the Chantry at any point, but she walks in with her own lab coat that she's wearing and introduces herself. Hello there. My name's Simone. You must be Silas.
Hello, Simone. Pleasure to meet you. Yes, I am Silas Lysander.
Yes, I am. I've heard things about you, and it's great to finally meet a Lysander. I see your family in the news all the time.
It's an honor as well, and I'm probably the farthest Lysander you'll ever meet. Generally only by name I found with the other Lysanders. My brother and my sisters are much more of the family type. I kind of tried to make a name for myself.
Yeah, well, I guess welcome to Tremere. Honestly, I'm quite new myself. I'm actually not from Chicago, but was brought
I
here
can tell.
recently. Yeah, I'm from Louisiana.
Okay.
Well, it's been a whole whirlwind, honestly. The South is it's not really Camarilla anymore. It's mostly Sabat. So I made a run for it.
Smart.
Yeah, and now I'm here. Not really a city girl, but I'm just kind of making best here. The Chantry, I have a feeling I'm going to make myself a home here and not really leave much.
Well, if there's one thing I know about I guess you could say, undead, even though I don't really like to call ourselves that, is the heat's not very good to them.
No, definitely not. It's nice to be in the cold, I guess.
It is nice, isn't it? Well, welcome to Chicago.
Thank you. I guess it's I don't know. I've heard so much about your family, and I'm not really here to pry or anything, but you mentioned you're not really like that close with them. Is that just I mean, I heard about the whole thing where your siblings are also, freshly embraced. So
Correct.
do you talk to them?
Not a lot, no. I mean, as much as one does now. I mean, we just attended the Elysium, but other than that, I still work my job at nights at at Rush Hospital, and I generally come here when I'm not working. Once I turned 18 and I left home and tried to keep my family in check, when I was still living, like I said, I tried to make a name for myself and not depend on the Lysander name. Little did I know that I would be here relatively 10 years later and back under the fold of my father.
And is that something you're still trying to do? Is you still trying to keep away from that Lysander name, or are you, I don't know, still trying to make a name for yourself now?
I think I'll always be trying to make a name for myself.
I respect that. I don't know, must be hard. Trying to, you know, be your own person, but also stuck under something like that.
Well, it wasn't easy.
Well, I don't envy you, I suppose. It's kind of nice to just be free and on my own.
It does have its perks. I'll give you that. I've never been to New Orleans before, but or Louisiana. Sorry.
I wasn't far from New Orleans, and
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
I'm trying to learn a new ritual, but it's been kind of taken me some time to figure out. Basically, what I'm looking to get out of this is create some sort of silent emanating effect. I know that if I can at least find a way to enhance the blood to create something that makes it silent, I can actually feel like I can manipulate it to actually silence a whole room if I needed to.
Interesting. Silence a whole room if you needed to by means of a ritual.
Yes.
And
So
what have you gotten so far?
right now I know that, oh, and let me pull this up because I thought I had it. Daggone it. Okay. So she explains that the ritual that she's looking to do, basically she enchants some sort of talisman or some sort of artifact or something. Not anything like huge, but like the paw of an animal. And it generates a sort of like white noise or like counter resonance of the holder's blood. And then that thus creates a magical silence. Shows you the ingredients that she has. She has the paw of a small, and also she actually takes some of her own blood, a corpse wax candle, and a white rose.
Okay, Simone.
Yep, it's a whole process here. Just bear with me on this.
I'm here for it.
I'm sure you're familiar with how this shit works. I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't know.
It's you've obviously done your research, but I've only been embraced for about 9 months. This is fascinating to me as it is for you. So I'm here with you.
So you watch her cut her palm, and put the blood. She actually remains completely. She puts some of it in the paw, and then she takes the flame, and it's a small flame, so you guys don't have to like roll a fear frenzy, and puts it in the bloody paw, and it kind of creates a sudden, but also creates a bit of silence. And it looks like it's trying to resonate and create like a larger cast of silence, but it's not quite there yet. So she's like, yeah, I can't quite figure it out, but I'm getting there.
Okay. Do you have notes on this? Obviously, when you're casting it, where are you having the most issue? Is it the focusing? Is it the reagents? Is it?
I think it's the focusing part. I think I have all the right components, but I'm not quite sure where it's going wrong.
And you're trying to imbue a medallion with this ritual, correct?
Yes. My hope is that the medallion will at least be like the conduit for this to kind of create that silence. I don't know.
And you have a medallion?
She hands, the only thing she does have is this predator paw.
Okay.
This is about what I have. I thought this would work. I'm not quite sure if it's working.
Okay, well, I mean, if you'd like to sit here, maybe I can try.
Yes, so you offer some help, Silas, and roll me, just roll me a intelligence occult to see if you're able to assist.
7 successes.
Okay. So you're able to point out something within the ritual that you think might work better. Basically she is like not she's trying to put the little flame in the paw, the bloody paw, but the rose is actually like you try like, okay, well, you have this white rose that's a component. Try putting the rose on fire and then, mixing that with the bloody paw. And you do that and it actually does begin to create a cast of silence around this room. And you both like reach out to speak, and for a moment, and she thumbs up you like, you got it. And then after a few moments, the silence dissipates and you can hear, well, I think that worked. Okay.
So it's burning the rose and using that as the wick instead of the
Yes.
corpse candle. Yes.
I guess that's how it works. Okay, this is good. I think there's potential to make this an even larger cast. If we work on this more, maybe create a bigger blood sigil or something, I think we could make this entire room silent. I think if we keep working on this, I think this can work.
What if you enchanted something like a tuning fork?
Fork.
So if you hit the tuning fork, it actually resonates as the silence.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You could walk around with an aura of silence as long as the tuning fork was resonating at a certain frequency.
This is good. I like this. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can find one of those, and then we're gonna try this again.
I'm looking forward to it.
And she like scurries out of the room to try to immediately begin experimenting on this. And you kind of look over her notes and the things that she has for this, and you see that what the spell that the ritual that she's looking to cast is called Silentia Mortis. Silentia Mortis. And you see in some of her notes that this was originally a Banu Hakim ritual, but this is like the Tremere version of it. And you kind of jot these notes into your own notes, and this is something that you feel with enough practice, you might be able to learn this ritual as well, and have the ability to essentially silence a room if you needed to.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, he will definitely record everything he just learned down to the T.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So that's something you keep kind of in your own notes, and you look through your own notes of rituals. You know some of your own things that you've learned through thaumaturgy, like Scorpion's Touch and other things like that. But you realize that there is so much more that you could learn, so many ways you can manipulate the blood, things that you can learn not just from the Tremere, but clearly there are other clans that experiment with blood magic as well.
Absolutely.
And you kind of ponder this for a little bit, and after a few moments, you're expecting Simone to return, but actually in the room walks none other than the Regent, Regent Deuceable.
Regent Juiceable, how are you this evening?
Silas, it is good to see you this evening. I'm doing well. I trust you're well as well.
I am. I don't think I've had the opportunity to thank you for this wonderful lab. I'm feeling right at home.
Yes, I'm glad you're enjoying it, and feel free to use it to whatever means you need to for studies and things of hematology and of the blood and any other rituals.
And Sunshi showed me those beautiful roses upstairs. It's quite the
Yes.
accomplishment.
Yes, that's a new thing that we have been working on here at the Chantry. I guess horticulture is something we're now getting into here. So,
Well, if it serves the Tremere, I am interested.
it's, interesting that you say if it served the Tremere. I see you have spent many of your nights here at the Chantry, and I'm curious so far what you think of Clan Tremere, and if you do feel serving the Tremere is something you are interested in.
I mean, it's not, to be honest, it's fascinating. It's funny you bring it up. I feel like I can make a name for myself here. I feel like a part of me has always kind of belonged here, if I'm being honest. I get to do research and learn new things, and things I would never have dreamed of. And at the end of the day, I can only see myself prospering inside the Chantry.
That does make me happy to hear, as you're right. Honestly, the possibilities are endless now. There are many things you've learned as a doctor and things you've studied in biology and medicine, but there's just so much more now. And I see you've already taken some of that under your wing, as he gestures to the notes and book of rituals that you were just looking over.
Yes, Simone asked me for some help, and I provided.
Yes. I'm glad that you met Simone. She's new like you, and so I think the two of you could be a good pair. So perhaps if there are things that you need while you're out and about with your family or spending time and need an ally within your own clan, don't hesitate to call on Simone.
I will take that into consideration. Thank you.
Yes. You both have similar backgrounds. She was from what I understand, a student at least of medical, and I think perhaps though she's not embraced not as long, or you were embraced not as long as she is, you're both of a similar generation, so perhaps there are things you can learn from each other.
I agree.
Speaking of which, I know there's been a lot going on for you, and a lot, especially with the Elysium that happened recently. I know you might be feeling a little overwhelmed.
It's interesting, to say the least. It was... For my first Elysium, I didn't expect it to be so siloed off.
Yes.
Clans in their own corners. To be honest, as much as the last 9 months have been eye-opening, I didn't really realize that everyone was in their own clique within the Camarilla.
Seems the cliques don't leave us, even in unlife. Kind of how we are structured as a society. I'm convinced, at least. We're meant to be in our own cliques. And that's just how it is. Even Clan Tremere has had its own cliques, and some have broken off into various houses that they think they know better than others and create their own houses. And it's an unfortunate human and unhuman nature, as some would say.
And I just want to be clear that I don't see a clique as a bad thing. Look, there are many invaluable things here in the Chantry. I wouldn't want a Bruja or a gangrel walking in here and knocking over test tubes. I'm quite all right with keeping this limited to the Tremere, but there can be uses with the other clans.
Yes, I agree. There can be uses. There are uses for many things. But I'm sure you still have many questions, Silas.
Every day. I tried to answer them myself, but some go unanswered.
Are there any pressing questions you have for me now that perhaps I could answer?
I know this might be a bit funny, but what are our goals? What should I be focusing on anything? Is there anything that I should be aware of in the upcoming near and distant future?
Yes.
I'd only like to help.
Goals. Well, you might have seen it yourself. Our clan is... well, it's not quite at the peak of the Camarilla. We don't have a Primogen who represents us. We don't have the high stature that we once had many, many generations ago. But we still have our uses, and I think Prince Jackson sees our use and capability. To me, my goal is quite simple, is to make sure we stay in those good graces of the Camarilla. Make sure that they continue to see our use, and that we are able to provide that aid and be, in some ways, the right hand of intelligence for the Camarilla, as they certainly need our knowledge.
Not only our knowledge, but also our power.
Indeed. Power of the blood. Only things that we are capable of.
There are things I've seen in this Chantry that amaze me every day. And to be honest, it makes me think what we could do with the right hands.
There is other goals, but perhaps I'm not the one to talk to you about them. There's somebody else I'd like you to meet. We have a special visitor from out of town. And, she has a bit of a higher ranking than myself. I'm surprised you haven't asked this question yet, and I thought maybe you would, but I understand perhaps you not wanting to ask something if you're not sure you're allowed to. Asking who it is that embraced you. Who it is of our clan that did, because, of course, the Lysander family doesn't have any Tremere that we know of, at least. So, who was it that brought you into our clan?
I mean, I'd be lying to say that it wasn't at the top of my mind. I mean, Dorian has Silas Sr., My sister Willow just met hers at Elysium. But honestly, I've made it this far without them, so I really don't know how I feel about it.
Hmm. Well, forgive the not so formal pleasantries, but perhaps I will introduce you to her. And he opens the door a bit more, and in walks in a woman. She has long brunette hair. She looks like she's probably in her 30s, and a dark burgundy jacket that she wears. She has glasses, thick-rimmed glasses, and walks in with an air of importance and confidence as she steps in. It almost gives you similar vibes to some of the Ventru that you've seen in their confidence and stature. She carries herself very much like a Ventru in that sort, but there's no mistaking when she walks in that this is somebody of Tremere. She walks in and says, she takes off her glasses. Well, you must be Silas then. Pleased to meet you. I'm Aisling Sturbridge, High Regent of the Tremere of the Five Boroughs in New York.
Hello? You've already met me.
Yes, I suppose I met you. I met you while I was half pretending to be dead on the side of your apartment, yes. It was a clever trick, was it not?
That was a good one.
Yes. Well, this is my child. In the flesh. You know, your father has very expensive taste, I must say.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of at a loss for words.
Yes.
I was not expecting this tonight.
Yes, well, I come to Chicago often, lucky for your father and lucky for Deucible here. The Tremere are, well, it seems they're in need of my aid here in Chicago, as I'm sure Abraham just told you, that things are not going so well for the Tremere, so I'm here to help out. I fly in every couple of weeks, have a few meetings with Abraham and Kevin, and we discuss things about how we can be of better aid, and that's where the question came up of, oh well, Lysander wanted to be embraced into Clan Tremere. And here you are.
And here I am.
And Silas, you definitely, upon her walking in this room, you, similar to what Willow had felt, though obviously you don't know, but from a narration standpoint,
Sure.
similar to what Willow felt, you feel a connection. Your memory flashes to that night, to this woman wearing the same jacket that she wore that night, her staple signature jacket, and you feel that connection. This is the person who embraced you, the person who drank from your blood till you almost had nothing left and then fed you hers. The memories, though hazy that night, now you feel that connection. You're not sure if it doesn't feel the way you would feel toward your own mother, but you certainly feel some sort of bond to this person.
Well, do I call you Miss Sturbridge? Look, I recently saw my sister puppy dog all over her sire, so I'm not going to do that. But I will respect you to the fullest extent.
Well, I think that is a good start more than anything. No, you do not need to call me any pleasantry names, or you don't have to act like I'm your mother and you need to wane off of me. No, I think I think it's fine to just kind of treat this more of just associates in a sense.
Associates.
Yes. Yes. But yes, well, perhaps associates isn't the right word. I've come a long way in the Tremere, and I've brought New York to a very powerful position for the clans, for our clan.
And so you intend on bringing Chicago up into the fold?
Yes, that is the hope at least.
Well, then I am honored to be your childer? Forgive me, is that the right word? Childer?
Yes, that is the correct word.
And
You
then I'm
wouldn't be
honored
the
to your
first,
child.
but
Oh, that's
you
quite
know.
all right. I have siblings.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you can call them blood siblings, even though that we don't really share the same blood anymore.
Yes. It's quite a shame that not all of the Tremere see eye to eye. Some of them are defect into their own houses and kind of a fractured family in some ways, but I'm sure you're quite familiar with fractured families, Silas.
I am no stranger.
Has your father told you anything about your family's history, about the history of your blood?
The Lysander blood in particular.
Yes.
No, my father and I really aren't on speaking terms, I would say.
A shame.
How so?
Well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that he wouldn't tell his Tremere son about the things of his family, but you come from quite the lineage. The Lysander name dates back many, many centuries. Generations ago, your bloodline has a history, specifically within the Ventru. You take some time in the books here, you might be able to find more information, learn more about the Lysander name, but that is why your family has such a hold, obviously not on business within the city, but also within our own Camarilla.
Anywhere I should start, specifically? I would love to know more.
Perhaps just start with anything you could find about the Ventru, and read on from there. Well, in truth, Silas, I think that's why myself and Abraham were so keen to bring a Lysander into our own clan. Perhaps we can study your blood or your family's blood and learn more.
Well, if you need to learn more, all you need to do is ask.
Well, then let me ask then. Abraham's told me that some troublesome things happened with your mother.
They did.
And, well, it seems she got involved with some diablerie, perhaps.
I'm not going to defend her.
Yes, what do you think about that? Your mother diablerizing other kindred behind, it seems, behind everybody's back. Not even the prince knew.
I think it's weak.
Weak.
Almost like cheating.
Yes. It is, in some ways, cheating.
Look, I've only been here for less than a year, but I've done my research in the Tremere. I know that with hard work and dedication, If you have a goal, you should be able to achieve it, just like the original Tremere did. Not by means of diablerizing others, but taking what is yours. And I believe with knowledge and time and with power, you too should be able to take what is yours.
That is certainly the right way to think. I think you'll fit in just well among your peers here as a young apprentice of the Tremere. Almost like it's a textbook answer, though.
Is it not suitable to you?
No, it's fine. But don't worry, Silas. You can be honest with me. Have you ever thought about doing it yourself?
No.
Smart.
I spent the last 10 years trying to escape my father. I could have, fell back on his money and done nothing with my life. That would be the easy way. If I'm being honest, yeah, I thought about doing that for a long time. Not slaving over textbooks and spending long hours in college classes learning about broken bones and different veins and what organs did what. But at the end of the day, I kept my head high and I graduated and I got my degree. I didn't take the easy road out. That's what diablerizing is it not? The easy way to get ahead.
You're right. It is the easy way out. And you're right. It is about hard work. It's about working your way up. Nothing ever comes easy for anybody.
No.
And choosing the easy way out has its own consequences. Your poor mother had to learn.
I don't know if my family thinks otherwise. It was a bit of a fracturing moment for us. As I assume it's no hidden secret that my sister Valerie left to do her own thing with the Toreador. I believe that might have been a bit of a breaking point for her.
Yes. I do send my condolences to your family. It's hard, nonetheless, to have to deal with a loss like that.
Especially a few days after you were embraced. It was definitely eye-opening.
Eye-opening indeed. The one thing, though, is that what your mother did, well, now we can learn from it. And she pulls from her jacket a small vial in her hands. Abraham told me that you brought a bit of blood from your mother.
I did.
Well.
Not before tasting it myself to confirm her diablerizing.
Yes, well, good. Smart. You do learn rather quickly, don't you, Silas?
I do.
Perhaps there's a bit more we can learn from this blood, though. Who was it? Who was it that she diablerized? How many? So many endless questions, and if we knew, we could certainly hold that over, I don't know, your poor father, or maybe even Jackson himself would like to know that information.
Well, you are free to do with it as you wish, as I did bring it back for Regent Deucible, per his orders.
Yes. I'd like you to do it, Silas. I'd like you to examine the blood. I'll show you how you can actually detect exactly who it is that she diablerized.
It'd be an honor.
Yes. Well, let's head over to this station then, shall we? And she moves you over to a area in the slab where you put the blood in a small little container
Mm-hmm.
and begin doing a ritual to study it and see who it was that your mother diablerized.
Okay.
So, I want you to roll me another intelligence. And occult.
Ooh, not as good. 3 successes.
3 successes. With 3 successes, you kind of manipulate your mother's blood a bit and begin to use your powers of thaumaturgy to sense who exactly it is. And you're only able to get the most recent person that she diablerized. Looking at it and examining it. As when you diablerize somebody, you essentially take all of their essence.
Real quick, can I spend a willpower to re-roll that?
You can, and I keep forgetting to tell you guys that you can do that. But you can re-roll up to 3 failures.
Okay. Does it, if you re-roll, if you click re-roll, does it automatically slake the willpower?
It should, yes.
All right, I'm gonna click. Let's see what it does. Okay, re-roll. Select dice to re-roll.
So I think you could just select your failures
2,
and
3. Got it. Yep. Okay, there we go. 5 successes. A little better.
Okay. I am. So you are able to discern 2. And for the Storyteller veil, I'm only going to reveal one of them.
Okay.
The rest of the audience is not going to be able to know who the second one is, though I will tell you later who it is.
Okay.
So Silas will learn 2 of the individuals that his mother diablerized. But audience, who we all see upon him resonating this blood and learning more about who his mother diablerized, it's a Bruja who goes by the name of Balthazar, but his real name is Thomas Ewell. And from a quick look up of who this person is, you learn that this guy is a real actual scumbag, believe it or not. He was a traitor to the Camarilla. He is a man of old money, and he did a lot of really heinous things. And he was also an enemy to Kevin Jackson, from what you learn.
Okay.
He was 8th generation and had blood potency of 3 and had a lot. Which is pretty powerful. And so your mother was able to diablerize this man. And it's this is all the information that you're able to take in upon studying and examining the blood.
Got it. Yeah, and I would obviously tell Aisling everything.
Yes, and she finds this fascinating, and she's actually the one who is relaying this information about who the individual is. Abraham Deuceable, the regent of Chicago, is also in the room upon this. And is listening in on this conversation, and he notes some things about Balthazar as well. He is definitely had a notorious reputation in Chicago for both Clan Ventru, for the Prince, and the Camarilla as a whole. And this is some of the information you're able to discern. And
Got it.
You, Aisling does kind of tell you that you did a good job. See, there's so much more we can learn, Silas. There's so many things we have the power to learn about. And, well, Perhaps there are more things about your family that you can learn. Maybe there are other things that they weren't telling you.
Possibly.
Yes.
It's no secret that my family is very secretive in the business dealings that they do.
I'm going to be blunt with you. Your family is very secretive, and we suspect that they may be harboring a very old kindred somewhere. We're trying to find out where that may be. I was hoping your mother's blood might be able to help us find more of these secrets, but it may need more examining, or you may need to find more. Perhaps your father or your uncle's blood may be able to give us more information. Just a few
Okay.
thoughts.
Well, I'll do my research and be sure to let you know if I find anything.
Yes. I'm sure you'll make the Tremere proud, Silas. You've made me proud already.
Oh. Well, thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm only in town for another night, unfortunately, but it's a pity. I feel like I can't just leave you. You're like a sad little puppy. Perhaps something else I can leave you with. And she hands you a small memento. It is it's a monocle. And she says, now, it's a glass monocle framed in gold and silver. And just perhaps consider this a token of, a sire to child bonding or something like that. It's not usually my forte, but you've done good so far, so...
Yeah, thank you. I'll keep it on me at all times just to remember
Yes.
this moment.
I'm glad you will. This is an artifact that the Tremere have kept for some time. I have many of them, so it's not really anything that I'm going to be missing, but I know your uncle, Nosferatu, they can be a bit more of the sneaky ones, keeping to manipulating our own eyes, that we can't see them and they disappear. Well, this monocle might be able to help you with that a bit. Maybe see through some of the lies that the Nosferatu will hide behind.
I mean, I don't mean to be blunt, but do I put it on? That's not, if I wear this monocle, I've never worn a monocle before. Or is there some other way I could use its power?
You might be able to find other means to manipulate it for your own use, but from my experience, if I wear it, I'm able to see more than what meets the eye. And
okay, well,
she, for your understanding, she gives you what's called a monocle of clarity. It is it's in a lore sheet that we will add to your character sheet.
ooh,
Where, designed by the Tremere to detect obfuscated spies, the monocle of clarity is a beautifully etched monocle set in gold and silver. The user makes a rouse check to activate and rolls a wit resolved versus the target's wit to obfuscate. And you're able to basically obfuscate with this if you roll well enough.
got it. Okay.
Well, is there anything else? Any other questions you might have, Silas, for us now? Well, at least the things that we think we can answer, I'm happy to answer.
Look, I said I wasn't gonna puppy dog you around, but just out of pure curiosity, when back in town.
Well, I usually at least make myself here once a month or so, so you may have to wait a couple of weeks until you see me again.
I'll be looking forward to it.
Of course. Ugh. And she like looks to Abraham. This is why I don't do these things, because I don't want to get attached. And she kind of like waves her hand. Her delicate gloves, she begins to put them back on. I suppose I'll be seeing you around then.
Have a good night and have a good trip back to New York.
Thank you. And she takes her leave. Abraham, who is sitting down with his cane in his hand, uses the cane to kind of get himself back up. Well, I feel like this has been a productive evening for you, Mr. Lysander.
Very eye-opening.
Yes. Continue to study that blood of your mother's. Perhaps there's more things you can learn, and, well, if you're able to find any other things about your family, I'm sure you will report them back to us.
Is there anywhere I could store it safely? Something like this shouldn't be left around in a centrifuge.
Yes, I agree. There's a room next to my office, a library, one of the smaller libraries. There's behind one of the books on the right bookcase is a small vault. You pull the book out, it opens up a vault. Leave it in there, and perhaps a little glyph of blood magic that you can use to keep it safe in there, that only you are able to access it. That should be a good place for safekeeping.
The library next to your office.
Yes.
Thank you, Regent.
Of course. Have a good evening, Silas.
You as well.
And Silas, you are once again left alone in this lab. It's been a interesting evening of knowledge, secrets, and meetings. Meeting new people. Meeting a new, younger kindred who might be able to aid you in ways that you might not even know yet. In studies of rituals and magic. And of course, your sire. Somebody of much importance, even over the regent of Chicago. Makes you wonder what favors or things your father had to pull in, or even the prince had to pull in to make something like this happen.
That's big money right there.
Indeed it is. But you sit and you ponder these things and go back to your studies in your lab. And that is where we end our session for this evening in the Chantry. Another productive night in the Chantry.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little glimpse into the Tremere, their goals. Silas got a lot of treats this evening.
A lot of treats, yes.
Yes, I'm just sprinkling little things for you to have and hopefully put into good use.
Yes.
For the further dealings with your family.
Absolutely.
So the question truly is, will Silas continue to bring this information to the Tremere? Will he tell his family about the things he's learned about his mother? Or will he even just use it for his own goals and machinations?
We'll have to wait and see.
See you all next time on Ancestral Blood.
Good night, everyone.
Goodbye, everybody.